Good evening and welcome to the August 15th, 2022 Planning Board meeting. Could we first please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start with correspondence. Anybody want to talk about anything in here?
No.
Good.
Good by me.
John, anything we need to go over?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We'll move on to the meeting minutes of July 25th, 2022. Any comments, amendments, concerns?
None. Good.
Nice job, Nancy. Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes of July 25th, 2022?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to move into the regular portion of the meeting. First, on the agenda, we have the Shrub Oak International School. This is a discussion of an amended site plan. Location is 3151 Stony Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I think the July 25th minutes reflect that I took more abuse at that meeting not being here than I do when I am here.
I'll second Sorry about that.
We have no objections to the draft resolution. We've had a chance to discuss it with John and Robin, and I don't think you want to hear John and I go through another round of discussion of the driveway, unless you do.
No.
I think it's been talked quite a bit. Any issues from the board?
None.
John?
I have no issues, no.
Dan here? No. No? Okay. Counselor, any issues with the Shrub Oak International School?
Nothing from me.
All right, then do I have a motion to declare lead agency?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. In front of us, we have a neg deck. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then lastly, we have a resolution approving an amended site plan for the Shrub Oak International School. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for working very closely with our planning staff.
You bet.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Sticking around for a few others, so.
Okay. Okay, next we have the Volta EV charging stations at Staple Plaza. This is a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
Motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
How are you?
Good evening. A little bit down there. My name's Trent Suddeth. I'm here representing Kimley Horn, who's the civil engineering firm behind the design documents for this EV charging station project at the Staples Plaza. Do we want to go through it again? I know we've had a couple of meetings here talking through design, and we read through the resolution. We don't have any issues with it. I know there was one design comment talking about placing the power control system in the same landscape island as what we're proposing to put the charging stations, and we agree we can make that happen, and we'll accommodate that. So there's no issue on the resolution on our side of things. Is there any other things we'd want to go through?
Well, this is a public hearing, so this is your opportunity to basically present to the public.
Sure.
We've had our own meetings discussing it, and there were other meetings that the public was involved in, but this is the public hearing, so we just need you to present.
Absolutely. Sounds
Okay?
good.
Thank you.
Do we mind going? Were you able to use the USB stick to pull up the?
That's what
PDF?
this is.
Do you mind going to the overall site plan on C100? Great. So I'm Trent Suddeth, like I mentioned, from Kimley Horn. I'm here today with Sam Lee from Volta Charging. He's the engineering project manager in this region for Volta. Volta proposes to install two DCFC charging stations at the Staple Plaza in front of the fitness center. We're going to be pulling from utility power right now with our ongoing discussions with Con Edison. We're looking to pull from an underground utility vault in front of the fitness center. From the underground utility vault, we'll be utilizing directional boring. It's a trenchless method of installation, so construction will be minimal, less disturbance on the site. We'll be running that conduit from in front of the building there to the PCS, which is located in that same island, like we mentioned here. We removed it. And then from the PCS, they run to the actual stations themselves, which are located in existing landscaped islands in front of the store there. The charging stations themselves sit on approximately about a 4x4 concrete pad in the islands themselves. Like we mentioned, they're DCFC, so in about 30 minutes, you can get about an 80% charge there. The stations themselves do include digital displays on them that do show third-party advertisements on them. This has been approved through the town board, and there has been a text amendment to that, so these have been approved. They are static images. There is no movement, flashing, any video involved with it, and no audio involved with it either. So it's just static images that cycle through every 8 seconds. With that, Volta is able to subsidize the charging for the consumers, so it usually costs less, and it does cost less than other EVs. This is a universal charger, so any type of EV car can utilize these. I think that covers it for the most part. Site plan we have up here, like we mentioned, we're in front of the Life Center, Fitness Center. If you go to the next slide, the enlarged, you can kind of see, so the EV charging station in this view here is kind of the blue rectangle there. So we're just looking to put them in the landscaped islands to an existing parking stall. These are just standard parking stalls here. They're not ADA or denoted by anything else. They're just standard parking stalls, and we're looking to convert into EV charging. We also will include different signage and striping there to note that they are EV charging stations. Even though they are denoted as that, technically anyone can park there. Obviously, that's not something we'd want. But with the striping and signage, we find that most people do not park there unless they are there to charge. And that is the scope of our project here for the Staple Plaza EV charging station project for Volta.
Do you have one of the pictures of what the unit looks like?
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you want to go to C0-02. If you want to go back, sorry. Yep, so this is a picture of what the station looks like right there. So it'll have the handle on the side there and the 2 media displays on both sides. It's approximately 7 feet tall there, and then about 4x2 at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So public hearings, do we have any comments from the public?
Good evening, Jake Hopstein. The placement of these where they are would impact people with handicaps that can't get a handicap space at BJ. There aren't enough of them. And either just block those spaces. It would be more appropriate further away from the entrance to the store. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything from the board? I just do want to note that we did talk about it at the last meeting, and these do not take away from the handicap parking count. All right, that being said, no other comments from the audience? Anything from you, John?
Nothing from me, no.
Counselor?
From me either.
Okay.
Motion to close?
We have a motion to close the resolution, or, sorry, the public hearing. We had a motion, we had a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. In front of us, we have a resolution approving a site plan for Volta EV charging stations at the Staples Plaza. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
You too. All right, next we have the Dorchester Glen subdivision. This is also a public hearing. Location is 1643 Maxwell Drive. Do I have a motion to open the
do it,
public? Sorry?
Are you going to connect?
Yeah.
Oh, so a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Clickers. Yeah, right.
Good evening, everyone. Forgive my, I'm a little bit hoarse. So, good evening, Joseph Rena, the principal site design consulting, representing Dorchester Glen, which is a 5-lot subdivision, which is proposed over 24.5 acres. It's on R120. The site is located has two access points, one at the south end of Maxwell Drive. South end of Maxwell Drive, which is right here. And off of Dorchester Heights, there's an right-of-way extended to the property, which is right here. This is the site right here, this large site here. Currently, there's an existing residence where the Kincarts live, and they're the sponsors of the subdivision. And their driveway currently accesses off of Maxwell Drive. This is an existing conditions plan of the site. Again, this is north end here is Maxwell Drive. Dorchester Heights is here to the west. This portion of the site is a New York State DEC wetland from here going to the east. So this area right in here is a New York State DEC wetland. The DEC has been out there. They verified the wetland flagging that was done, as well as the town wetland consultant has also been out there and verified the flagging that was done. Over this area, and there's a stone wall that clearly delineates this area. The project will propose a conservation easement or it could be deeded to the town if the town would like to potentially connect the open space that's to the south from the Hanover East subdivision and continue that back to the back of the Grange Fair. So we'll leave that decision to the planning board whether they would like to take that property for open space or just have it remain as a conservation easement. So the proposal is, as I said, is a 5-lot subdivision. One lot will contain the existing residence. We originally had shown the board a conventional layout to demonstrate that we can meet the standards under the current zoning. And then with the board's permission, we went over to the town board and asked them to approve the use of flexibility standards to allow us to work the project so it's more environmentally sensitive and get some good house placement and driveway placement. So this is the plan that you saw at the last meeting and which we presented at the PIH, which is the flexibility layout. So we're bringing in a private road. It's going to be 18 foot wide. This says 16 here, but we're going to modify that to 18 foot. It's got a turnaround. 4 of the house sites will access this extension of the private road from Dorchester Heights, and the existing residents will continue to have a driveway off of Maxwell Drive. After some discussion at the last meeting, and we met with John Tegeter, with the applicant, and we talked about maybe doing some rearranging of the site to try to pull some of the houses upward closer to the proposed turnaround and try to reduce some of the impacts due to grading. So this is the plan which represents that. We can get you a little closer on that. So this is that alternative layout. So you'll see in a minute, I have an overlay, and that'll show you how we reposition the houses and driveways. This property line, which is this property line right here, which is between these 2 lots, has been reconfigured, and these houses relocated and, moved up the hill further. We relocated the driveway that was proposed for this home, and that's going to be a permanent change whether we go with this plan or the previous plan I just showed you. So looking at this overlay, in red, you could see the alternative plan, which I just presented, where we pulled everything up the hill. And you can see the outline there of where the driveways and the homes would be on that plan. From that, we'll be extending public sewer onto the project and public water, as well as gas if it's available. From my perspective, I prefer the previous plan that I had shown you versus the alternative plan, because I feel it's a little more open and a little less congested with the homes. So let me just get back to where. But I'll leave that up to the board. So again, this is okay. So this is the alternative plan, which is the new plan, and going the wrong way, and that's the previous flexibility plan that we had presented.
So what's the intended benefit of the new plan?
Well, shorten the driveways, reduce the grading impact, get everything so it's not so much down the hill versus closer up to where the cul-de-sac is. Again, my opinion is it makes it look a little more congested, where this is a nice open plan.
Does everything on this plan comply in terms of grades and?
Yeah, on both plans, everything complies as far as grades go. And remember, under the flexibility standards, that's it. We're altering the bulk standards to come up with a plan that works. And we tried to maintain setbacks and whatnot consistent with the zone, but we may be doing some positioning of the houses and property lines that may affect something like lot width or lot depth or something like that might affect it.
Joe, is there more grading on the earlier plan or the latter plan?
There's going to be more grading on the earlier plan because we're going a little further down the hill with the homes, so that's going to be a little more intense, right? But so here's that plan. Too fast. And here, this is the alternative plan. So clearly, this is going to have a little less impact because it's, again, everything is pulled up the hill.
Does it put you further into a buffer? You're not in.
We're not anywhere near the buffer. This is the buffer line right here. That's the buffer line right there. So we're not anywhere near the buffer.
Oh, okay.
In terms of distance from where the house would be on the first plan to the alternate plan, like you're moving the house up.
Right. So again, here.
So, like how far are you coming up? 10
Yeah.
feet, 20 feet, 100 feet?
Yeah, I don't think it's that much because we don't have that kind of latitude because of the grade. There's grades we have to maintain for the driveway and whatnot. So, I mean, you could see. So this house here, we're probably moving up about 30 feet. This one, we're shifting up maybe about the same, but we're also shifting it over. Both these houses we're shifting over. And this house is almost in the same spot, except we're rotating it a little bit, and we're bringing it up maybe 15 feet further up the hill.
All set?
That's it.
Public hearing. Anybody from the public have any comments, concerns? Anything they'd like to discuss? I guess that's a no.
Got one.
There you go.
Oh, we got one? John Flynn.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good evening, members of the board. I just have one question about it. I'd just like site design consultants to elaborate a little bit on what the potential is for there's considerable open space on this site with the cluster subdivision, and they haven't, or in earlier presentations, they've discussed the possibility of connecting to other open spaces that are on adjacent properties. And I was just wondering if site design could talk a little bit to that. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
As I said earlier, this wall here, this wall, would be a delineation line where everything to the east of that could either be open space connecting to Hanover East and then to the back of the Grange Fair, or it can be a conservation easement.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, then. Anything from you, John?
Matter present.
Counselor?
Nothing from me.
We have a motion then to close the public hearing for the Dorchester Glen
Motion to
subdivision.
close. Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
That is the close of our regular session. We're now going to move into the work session. Again, during the work session, there is no public input. It's a discussion between the board and the applicant.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, first up on the work session is the Wendy's at Staples Plaza. This is a discussion of an amended site plan. Location is 3399 Compound Road.
Mr. Chairman, I'm be recusing myself. I'll
Yep.
be outside.
So, good evening, board members. Jennifer Porter from CSG Law. I'm happy to be back here again. We were before this board last month on July 25th to present our initial plans in connection with the application on behalf of Winesco Yorktown LLC, which is a Wendy's franchisee. Since that time, we had the opportunity to have a meeting with planning and engineering staff to get some additional feedback with respect to some of the open items that were discussed at the last meeting, particularly with respect to parking and signage and some other related site considerations. And we took that input back. And so I have my engineer, Dan Sennel from Dynamic Engineering here, who'd just like to walk the board through some of the thoughts and changes that were made with the goal this evening of having this application hopefully scheduled for a public informational hearing in September. And so I'll turn it over to Mr. Sennel.
Yes, good evening again, Chairman, members of the board, Daniel Chanel with Dynamic Engineering. So since we were last here, we did have an opportunity to meet with your engineer and discussed a couple different items that were brought up at the last hearing, one of which was the need for a variance. So I just wanted to mention that we did look at the parking calculations for this site. When the center was originally approved, the parking demand was essentially calculating the entire center, all the uses, as retail space. And at our last time we were here, we discussed that the way restaurants or a quick service food restaurant would typically be calculated is based upon food preparation space and patron space. But in this case, when the center was originally proposed, the entire thing was retail. So looking at the calculation, both existing and proposed using the retail calculation, there would be no change in parking demand. And what that number was required 942 parking spaces, whereas exactly 942 parking spaces exist. As I also mentioned the last time we were here, is with the addition of the angled parking along the frontage, we would be losing 6 parking spaces just to make that circulation work a little bit better, which would get us down to the 936. Now, taking this back and breaking out the uses, if we would calculate the existing center based on the individual types of uses, there would actually be a parking demand of 977 parking spaces under existing. Under proposed, since the Wendy's patron area is a little bit bigger than the existing Dunkin' Donuts, it would actually require 980 parking spaces for the entire center, so an increase of 3 when compared to the existing. So since that patron area is a little bit bigger, technically if we're going by use, we would require 3 extra parking spaces where we're actually losing 6. But again, the majority of their operations, I'd say about 70%, is through the drive-through. So even that we're losing parking spaces, we feel that it wouldn't be a detriment to the application, as the majority of the patrons these days do utilize that drive-through for the Wendy's. So we discussed that. I just wanted to mention that the parking calculation. The other item that was primarily spoke about was landscaping. So with the addition of those angled parking spaces versus the head-in, we lost that small landscape island that was originally essentially segregating the drive-through lane from the Dunkin' Donuts from that head-in parking. So we lost that just to be able to back out of those angled parking spaces. So originally we were looking at a very minor, essentially decrease in pervious area, decrease in landscape area, and an increase in impervious. However, we took another look at this, and the area that I'll highlight now, when we angle those spaces, these highlighted corners were essentially proposed to be striped. However, we took a look, and now we're adding a little bit more curbing to those striped areas rather than just having them striped. And as a result, we actually increase the amount of landscape area when we compare it to existing conditions. So it would be an increase rather than a decrease. And then as you can also see on this plan, our landscape architect took an opportunity to essentially refresh the site, propose some new landscaping along our frontage here, and essentially fill in the landscape islands that are in front of the store, replace that existing landscaping that's there. And then the other item was that new freezer cooler that we'd be placing behind the Wendy's. There was a mention of that it looked a little bit out of place, and see if we could soften it a little bit with some landscaping. We absolutely took that opportunity to provide some nice landscape area to help buffer that and soften the look from the rear of the site and refresh that portion as well. The one other item that we spoke about when we met virtually this past week was the I don't have the architectural elevations in front of me, but the rooftop screening. There was essentially a corrugated metal that was placed around the HVAC units of the roof, and it looked a little out of place. There was mention if we could use some of the knot wood, which is essentially a foam wood material that's used on other architectural elements of the building. We did speak with the architect about it. They said it wasn't possible just because of the way that stuff is mounted and the ventilation that's needed between it. However, he is more than happy to take another look at using a different color rather than that metallic corrugated metal around the rooftop screening. We could change the color of it and kind of have it blend into the system a little bit. So that was essentially the main changes. We didn't think we'd have enough time since that was just Thursday that we met, but we did have an opportunity to jump back into the plans and make some of those revisions to the landscape areas. So we could discuss that with you here this evening, but more than happy to take any more of your input. But our goal is essentially to move on to our next steps.
I think you've done everything we've asked. And we really appreciate you meet with the professional staff.
Yeah.
That really, that buttons things up quickly when you meet with them.
Our pleasure.
We missing anything, John?
Not at present, no. Going to need to set up a public informational.
Yeah. So we can get that set up, Nancy?
I just have one question.
Yes, please.
My notes show that we discussed 7 parking spaces being short. Am I incorrect, or you said 6 tonight?
Yes, six, not 16, 6.
6, not 7.
6, not 7, correct.
The next meeting we got in September 12th.
Yeah, they'll have to work that out.
There was one other additional item that I just wanted to note is we had also discussed signage, and it was ultimately determined based on the amount of signage that we are proposing that it would be a net reduction in terms of the existing signage at the site. So it would be essentially in compliance with what was previously approved under the master sign plan. So that was also a further consideration. So we believe at this point with the parking, even with the deficit, that it would allow for that relief to stay within the scope of this board so that we wouldn't have to go to the zoning board for any variance relief.
And again, this is why we always ask the applicants when you get to something like this to meet with the professional staff. You don't go to the foot doctor for your heart, right? So-
I have once, but it didn't work out.
That's why John, that's why we ask you questions.
He's healthy as an ox.
Huh?
He went to the foot doctor for his heart. He's healthy as an ox.
All right, so work with the department and they'll get you set up. Okay?
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for working with us. All right, next we have a town board referral. This is a proposed zoning code amendment. Locations 3241 Compound Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz here representing Guiding Eyes. My understanding is that staff had some suggested edits to the proposed zoning special permit that we had presented to you. John and I discussed them briefly, but I think this is more the town's request to make some modifications.
Well, this is more pursuant to the discussion that you guys had last time. So it really wasn't settled on lot size, which was the major discussion point. There was some discussion about setbacks and so forth. I want to point out or remind, I don't know if we had the discussion last time, that the minimum lot size for interchange zone is 10 acres. They had written or suggested 12 acres as a minimum. Then we, as we discussed it at the last meeting, if they actually do this lot line change to accommodate the Signs Inc. building, they would actually be below that. So I think that 10 is 10 is really what it should be at the very least. My suggestion is that there is a section in the interchange zone that allows less than 10 acres when you come in and actually subdivide an interchange zone. So it's conceivable that in another time that you can get a 10-acre piece that comes in, offers a subdivision, which you are allowed to do under the code. You end up with 2 smaller lots. So my suggestion is to adopt some minimum lot size for this particular use within that zone. I had suggested last time 7 acres. I think that's appropriate given what we're looking at on this plan. I think you should note that this concept plan, and I'll emphasize that it is a concept plan, the closest side of the building to a lot line is the side that is adjacent and abutting a residential property. So those are the kind of things that, in terms of the noise, that you may want to, that you need to think about. Because as I said before, the last Guiding Eyes approval that we did up on Granite Springs Road, there was a lot of discussion about the noise, and some neighbors did bring in video and sound tapes of barking from kennels that were not soundproof, and it was significant. Keep in mind also that sound is, decreases exponentially when you get closer to it. It increases exponentially. So while they may say to you, or the sound folks might say, well, by the time it gets to your property, it's really at the level of a conversation. If you have to listen to a conversation for 4 or 8 hours at a time, it can be quite annoying and disruptive. So we have to pay attention to that. So my second suggestion is to add in a clause that requires some soundproofing to the planning board's satisfaction for the buildings. So if there's for instance, 100-acre property and it's in the middle, soundproofing's not needed. You won't need to look at it. If it gets a little too close and you have a sound engineer talk to you and you find that it's possible to hear the barking from the next use, you may want to require it.
So it would be as required.
As required to your satisfaction, yeah.
And, go ahead. I was going to say, John, with things like the fact that there's bushes and trees and undergrowth buffering that sound, impact your thoughts on that at all? I mean, if you had 50 feet of open clear versus 50 feet of brush.
Yeah. That helps. The point is that, as we know from a recent application, and as we know from the Guiding Eyes, you can have varying levels of brush and buffering and so forth, but if you can still hear it, even at a level that you would consider not, injurious to your ears, nevertheless can be injurious to your quality of life. So I think having the flexibility to require some soundproofing or sound mitigation is a wise thing to do. The Granite Springs Guiding Eyes did eventually, on their existing kennel and the new kennel, soundproof both of those. And I don't think we've heard that the neighbors are having a problem since then.
And just following John's comments, Rob, we have no problem with that. I think it's really smart that the board would be analyzing sound buffering on a case-by-case basis. Guiding Eyes for the Blind is very pleased with that, the fact that they're going to come to you with the ultimate design material that we have. These are going to be state-of-the-art kennels. These are about as modern and well-developed a kennel as you could have. Some of the kennels at Granite Springs obviously are much older and were approved a long time ago. And the other thing that I heard you all discussed at the last meeting, in light of these changes, was the possibility of eliminating the per acre dog correlation. John, you can speak to that. My understanding is that was a possibility of eliminating we had proposed no more than 20 canines per acre. In light of some of these changes, I had heard that the board had talked about the possibility of eliminating that.
We may have talked about that. I don't see difficulty having the per acre, 20 per acre. I think you plan to have about 200 dogs, right?
Correct.
So that still fits.
It's around 200,
Yeah.
200 plus.
So that would still accommodate that.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't see the problem with it. If there is, from your end, let the board know. And I don't know if the board wants to discuss it further, but that's up to them.
And going back to some conversations that we've had at the town board level with Guiding Guys, I think one of the initial things that you had mentioned was the soundproofing.
Yes.
I think that was like one of the first things when you first came to us, so they are on board with that.
The councilman is correct. We had talked about the soundproofing and the positioning of the building and moving the building, the kennel building, as far from the residential neighbor as possible, and taking advantage of the topography and the ability to berm and landscape. As a result of which, if there is flexibility on this number issue, I think we would like to have that flexibility.
Sure. Having the flexibility is always a positive.
You mean have it removed and not
Correct.
have a hard number in it?
Correct.
I don't see a particular problem with that, really.
I would agree. I'd agree to that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, Guiding Eyes is professionals, they know what to do. If they want to have a little more or less, that's up to them.
So can we draft something up? When is the next town board meeting? Where that would,
Not for a couple of weeks.
all right, because I think wherever we draft, we'd like Aaron to take a look at it too.
Okay. So you want to go with the 7 acres, or do you want to have that in there? You want to just stay with the 10? Do you have
At your recommendation, this is what you do. I think that's probably
But you're
wise
saying
choice.
the 10 acres could be further subdivided if there were another application. We're not creating a situation that precludes that for another site for some other application.
No, that section of, that zoning district allows, even though the minimum is 10 acres, it allows subdivision with a site plan.
Right.
So conceivably, you can get smaller lots, so
Right.
that's why I'm suggesting at
Okay.
least have a minimum for this particular use to ensure you have enough flexibility to manage the impacts, mostly the sound.
Right.
So you would go with the 7 acres, the express language about the buffering, and potentially the elimination of the correlation between the canines and the acres. And that would be in some form of a memo to the town board so that we could advance with the text amendment at the town board, and then come back to you to pursue the site plan approval, which I know Bill and Guiding Eyes is anxious to do.
Yeah.
And does that address a setback that you were talking about as well? Was there specific setbacks that you think are unique or needed for this type of
The
application?
setback in that zone now is 100 feet. So the concept plan has 100 feet.
Yes.
That's a fair setback,
Yep.
so, I mean, you could conceivably increase that, but if you look at that concept plan, by the time you get to the 100 on the one side, you do have some area over there, but to move that building, you really have to flip the parking lot now.
Right.
So it's not as easy as it is. So I think the 100 is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
The real critical thing, I think, is to have the ability to make some soundproofing or sound mitigation.
And Joe Rena explains that the concept currently as designed, 150-foot setback presently respected to the nearest neighbor.
That's good.
Funny.
All right, so we'll draft something up. We'll have time for Aaron Bach to take a look at it too.
Great.
Okay? Thank
Sounds
you very
good.
much.
We look forward to going to the town board and then coming back for our review in front of you on site plan.
Okay.
I want to thank you guys for working with Signs Inc. as well.
You bet, absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. All right, next we have Uncle Giuseppe's Marketplace. This is a discussion of site alterations, locations 329 Downing Drive.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. My name is Jerry Giusario. I'm with the firm Jarmel Kaizel Architects and Engineers, here on behalf of the shopping center owners at 329 Downing Drive, more specifically where the Uncle Giuseppe's Marketplace is currently under construction and soon to be open. We're here tonight. We had previously got approval for some site alterations in conjunction with this marketplace. There was a grease trap installation, a new sewer lateral, and reconstruction of the front asphalt to bring it into compliance with the American with Disabilities Act. If you remember, that shopping center had some significant slopes leading to the front doors, so our plans were approved to reconstruct the front asphalt. Subsequent to the approval, and while the project was under construction, some other areas of asphalt were noticed to be in disrepair, so there was some additional milling and repaving that went on. Another item was a installation of a concrete pad for a trash compactor, but the main item that we're here for tonight is there were previously concrete crosswalks running through the site, and I apologize, I don't have the TV screen, but I do have photos that show the disrepair of the concrete crosswalks that were previously approved under a prior approval. The owner is constantly making repairs to them, but it's not holding up. So they've become not only a safety concern for pedestrians, but also a liability to the owner. So what they've done is they removed these in, I'll just flip to here. This is the Uncle Giuseppe's over here. This crosswalk, this one, and there's two smaller ones have been removed, and they're proposing to replace them with the new asphalt that's going in and striping them. It's similar to a crosswalk at an intersection, the thick, wide bands at each side, and then the perpendicular stripes. It's a cleaner, it's easier for maintenance, and so that is the reason we're here before you tonight. The owner's seeking approval to remove these and reconstruct them with the new asphalt that's going in hopefully tomorrow.
I mean, that's beat to hell.
Yeah.
Well, in
But-
pristine condition, it's probably better looking, but the plows have got to eat that stuff up.
I was in the business with asphalt. Who would put concrete in the middle of asphalt walks? You know, it's two different
it's tough.
things. They freeze differently, they break differently. And we have painted crosswalks almost all over. So why not here?
It's a standard design in New York State.
Yeah. There you go, standard design.
Any issues, other?
No, it's up to you guys. Your original approval has a lot of these concrete walks, several of these concrete walkways crossing roads and parkways, so it's a site planning approval of yours. So if you agree to the change, we can move forward with getting a short resolution that gets into the record, and maybe a little discussion about making sure that the striping is maintained so it can be seen well.
Yeah. The ramps, are they also going to be compliant now?
Yes, the front of the store, the handicap stalls, everything from the handicap stalls here into the main door has all been reconstructed, the base paving's down, and it's all ADA compliant now.
So anybody in a wheelchair can get around the entire site?
Well, not the entire,
Well, that area, right.
yes, there's an accessible route
Protected
for
area.
them, yeah. Beyond that, it gets steep again, steeper.
All right, and in the back, you were, was there anything in the back, or?
It's just a concrete pad for the compactor that's going back there. That's it.
Anybody have
That's
any
the
issues?
changes.
I see no problem at all.
I'm just concerned about the rest of the overall site. Are we changing the vocabulary, what's gonna happen in the rest of it? Because the rest of the site is, got concrete pavers.
I don't think so. I was there, I didn't see any of the, I just saw those that they milled over.
No, the balance of the site, not your site, but
Further to the
Rest
the
of
north.
further to the east.
They're gonna be replaced too. These are immediate for the grand opening of this store.
Yeah.
The other
No, but
ones
I'm
are gonna
saying the
get-
original site plan included concrete pavers throughout the site, correct? All of,
Yeah, I'm not, there, I noticed there is some along the sidewalks.
yeah, so what I'm saying is we're
Right.
changing the vocabulary of the overall site, and is this going to be the change that we're going to expect to see further down the site? Because we're changing the look.
And, you
I'm
know,
not arguing with the reasons for or against it, but
We're not removing any of the brick that's part of the sidewalks in the center.
No, I understand
Okay.
that, but I'm looking at your photographs, and those, I call them pavers for lack of a better description, those pavers exist throughout other parts of the parking lot.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, we're now taking that out of a good portion of the site and using asphalt. So I'm asking my other board members, is this something that we're going to expect to see? Because we're focused on your part of this without looking or discussing the rest of it.
Can I make a comment? Is there anything other than just striped asphalt that you would consider putting there? Maybe like stamping the asphalt, making it different, making it stand out, making it look like a walkway that would lend itself to your durability that you're looking for. It would be the same kind of product, which Mr. LaScala had mentioned. It's two different types of things. They freeze differently. This would freeze the same, I guess, right? And it would still maintain the kind of look and feel. I mean, that looks terrible. I mean, I got to be honest with you. And whatever improvement you make on that is going to look better, But just to make it more of a walkway kind of feeling as opposed to just straight pavement.
I mean, to me, the black asphalt with the bright white stripes stands out the most.
It's a standard.
It's-
And I think, and
There's no other situation. That has to be the way that they really want to present it. I think that's the best way to do it.
well, and I think if someone got,
Everybody's safety.
if someone got clipped there, I don't think, we'd be protected. There's the manual for traffic divide. That's what you're gonna follow. So
Right, it's a typical
right,
crosswalk.
so it's something you would see on a roadway. People get conditioned when they see this. They should stop. I got to be honest with you. I'd rather see the asphalt and the white stripe.
Absolutely.
That's compliant with the manual.
They make a stripe that you can put down with reflective powder in it.
It's glass. That's what they use on the road.
Yeah, they use
And
With the thermoplastic.
That would
beads.
be,
Yeah.
that would be to
Yeah,
your advantage.
thermoplastic, yeah. There's a higher quality striping.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do torch down. I mean, there's different
Yeah.
products. But
I don't
the-
know. I would go with the suggestion.
Well, I think you're looking to open sooner than later.
August 26th.
So, you can go to a sign shop and get the torch down or whatever you get, as long as it's compliant with the manual. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Well,
Any concerns from the board?
good luck.
Well, so you're going to be okay with the asphalt and the
Yeah.
striping? Okay,
Asphalt.
As long as it's compliant with the manual.
as long as it's compliant. So they wish to open on the 26th. They need to lay asphalt and then do the striping prior to you finalizing this by a resolution, which we can do in September. So if you wish me to, I can issue a memo saying that you're okay with continuing with the TCO
Yeah.
and that they need to come back on September, I think it's
September we'll finalize, make it legal.
15th or 12th to get the resolution done. That satisfactory?
And I do think I think the rest of the site needs to be looked at. I know you're not controlling the rest of the site, but if it looks like that,
Yeah, I think it should be uniform.
yeah, I mean, that's a mess.
Well, the idea is,
You got to go to the mic.
You have to come up to the mic.
Good evening, everybody. I'm from the landlord, Oster Yorktown Properties. So, eventually, as our engineer mentioned, we're going to do now focus only on the crosswalks that are part from half of the Kmart to Uncle Giuseppe. And we're going to continue with the rest of the crosswalks as a part of the second stage of the redevelopment. As everybody knows, we're trying to do the whole entire redevelopment in that center. Some of the pictures that you've seen here, you can see that crosswalk, concrete crosswalk by the Burger King area.
DS Auto.
Yeah, so when you walk from the liquor store and you walk to the sidewalk that leads you to the Burger King, which eventually it is absolutely necessary to be replaced. What I probably can offer is, based on the resolution, that after I can continue just that part of the crosswalk to be fixed properly with the asphalt and striping, as we're mentioning. And then when the rest of the redevelopment stage will start, then we'll do the rest, entire parking lot with the new asphalt as well.
I would suggest you sit down with John and the professional staff to come up with a plan, because if that condition is throughout the place, someone gets hurt, you know, you guys are gonna get jammed up. So
And
I would,
absolutely. And this has been one of our concerns all these years. Besides, I'm not even going to the maintenance cost that has been really high. And plus, as you guys know, there's no plowing all the times. It's gonna hit that. It's, you know, crack and damage and all the times. And most important is liability and safety as well.
Yep. All right, so meet with town staff to come up with a plan.
Okay.
We'll get your memo. Get you set for the opening.
So for now, at least we can finish what we have to
David.
finish for before the grand opening.
Yeah,
yeah, we
we'll
can pay
issue a memo tomorrow that will go to the building, engineer, you know, all the usual suspects and yourself that says you can continue with the asphalt as proposed. You need recommending issuance of TCO, and you come back in September, finish the resolution and any discussion about the maintenance of the striping itself.
Sure.
And then you're on your way. When you're endeavoring to do the rest of the installation, we can talk about that. We can talk about that earlier or talk about it later. It's up to you.
Absolutely. Pleasure. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck, guys. All right, next we have a zoning board referral. I'm gonna mess this name up again. It's Aljaz. Location's 1658 Amazon Road. How are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz here with Alex Elizaj regarding 1658 Amazon. I was just brought in on this matter last week. I had an opportunity to go out and see the property today with Alex. I don't know. I had been told that some of you may be conducting a site inspection this weekend. I hope some of you did. I'm sorry?
Drive by.
Good. And we'd be delighted to have you come on to the property as well. I'm really glad I went and saw it today. Alex encouraged me to do so. This is a unique property, as I understand it from Alex and his family. They purchased it. They purchased it with 4 tenants there at the time of acquisition. I had nothing to do with the representation at the time of acquisition. Might have been a little differently handled, but
I wish he was that.
I'm here now to try to help clean this up. My understanding is the property is 80 years old. It's obviously been used in a multifamily context for a very long time. It obviously was not in the best of condition. I don't know for how long. I went out there. As a result of going out there, I actually said, Alex, take some photographs because I'm taking them with me tonight if we need them. If you could only see what he and his brother are doing inside these structures to make them habitable, attractive, really nice kitchens and bathrooms. We're taking a site that obviously has 3 structures on it, 2 that are currently occupied or were occupied, and they will be 4 very functional, attractive residential units in an area that is dominated by multifamily structures, primarily 2s, but there are some 3-family and this. Last couple of comments. This unique corner property has 3 driveways. So there are 3 curb cuts. Who the heck cuts 3 driveways into a site unless there are multiple families living there? And last, and maybe most dispositive, the town of Yorktown issued permits for 5 different electrical meters there. 4 meters for one for each of the residences, and 1, as I learned today, for the master meter so that Alex can make sure that there's exterior lighting for the walkways and the driveways, et cetera. So I'm hoping that we would get your endorsement so that we can go back to the zoning board to the extent we need permits from the zoning board and variances. And I say that because I haven't been in this long enough to know whether this is technically a pre-existing legal nonconforming use and why is the town putting us through this? I don't know the answer to that. At the moment, I'm more than happy to help him cooperate with the town, clean this thing up, and walk away with either predate letters or permits. So I'm hoping you guys are cool, and I'm happy to share the photographs if anybody wants to see. Alex will come in and remodel your kitchen.
So I was out there this weekend and I walked that area a lot, and I think this area is really a lot of old summer cottages. That's what it was. You know, and clearly, you know, I went to the property, frightened leaving the driveways because, I mean, you really got to have to work on that sight distance issues you got out there in any of the driveways. But, you know, looking at the property, this looks like it was an old summer cottage. They kind of did what they had to do out there. The only concern I have would be the health department with the septics and the bedroom count. You know, 80 years old. I'm sure things changed over the years, but the property surely needs some real TLC. My only issue would be the health department. Anybody else from the board? Eddie?
I have an issue of, there's really no parking at all for the number of units that are there. You said there's curb cuts. There's one, what I would call a curb cut, and the other two are, it looks like somebody pulled off the road and made a driveway. I have a Jeep, thank God, but it's really not a paved driveway or an improved driveway. There's no curbing, there's no drainage. I don't know if it's compacted or not, but there's certainly not enough parking for the number of units that exist legally or otherwise. Assuming that they're going to be rental units and there's a total of 5, I think you can reasonably assume there's going to be 2 cars per unit perhaps. So a total of 10 vehicles. I don't know where you would park them.
4 units, not 5. So
Okay.
So 8, not 10.
Okay.
But go ahead, please.
Two bedrooms, 2 1-bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, so the driveways that, there are actually 2 paved driveways, one which is in decent condition, the other one which is collapsing and falling apart, and yes, one that's crushed stone, I want to say.
The one that I pulled in today? Was
Yes,
that was
the crushed stone.
So I pulled in, I was the 3rd car in that area
Yes.
today. So I know that one handles 3, if not 4. And I didn't drive, Mr. Phelan, to the other 2 driveways.
Right, but what I'm saying is that they're not improved parking areas for drainage or any kind of environmental concerns for vehicle parking. So there needs to be addressed in the sight distance. I almost got killed getting in or out of, and I went into all 3 of those parking areas.
Don't drive anywhere in Mohegan Lake then.
But I mean, literally, the
Not
sight
true.
distance coming out of the paved driveway is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, so,
And where the dumpster is.
yeah.
And,
So,
and the other 2, the same thing.
so the next step, which is what we discussed, was landscaping the property. I mean, I would really, really love to tear down a bunch of trees, prune them, have some nice canopies, cut everything along the road, so this way there's better visibility. But, you know, on that road, right where 1658 Amazon, that paved driveway is, you know, there is a bit of a hill, whether you're coming down or up that hill.
Exactly.
Historically, I don't know if there's ever been any incidences there. I don't believe there has. Backing out of there can be somewhat hazardous, but once I clear that entire road of brush, I think there'll be great visibility.
Well, maybe, what I'm saying is maybe you don't have 3 curb cuts. Maybe you design your parking area with proper sight distance so that you don't have those issues at all. Maybe that driveway goes away and you rely on the driveway on the secondary road.
But the issue is that the 3rd structure is where the garage is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was where
The driveway that I think you're referring to is the one that's on Amazon, and that's where,
Right.
that is the original garage structure with garage doors.
Right.
So it would be.
But that's the one most problematic to get out of, as far as I'm concerned. You have no sight distance even with shrubbery removed. Tough to see somebody coming in either direction.
Right. So to the extent, I mean, look, if we were sitting here having a discussion with, you know, a clean slate, and it was 2022 and we were creating a subdivision, I agree with you 100%.
Yes,
But we're not.
Yeah, all I'm saying is this is a referral. So if the town board is asking our opinion on this, my comments are that property needs a plan
Understood.
to address situations like sight distance, parking, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Got it.
Based on a few
Understood.
minute site visit. So that would be my comments that would go back to the town board.
Got it.
And I think that's probably the easier of the 2. Again, I think you're gonna have to be dealing with the health department. So you probably do wanna get someone involved that knows that type of work. just
So,
to
yeah,
look at that for you.
Michael Picarillo has been the architect on this. I don't know if there's
Okay.
been a consulting civil up until now. And obviously, they need to understand the situation with the septic. Again, assuming we need to go to the health
Yeah.
department. And
If it predates, who knows?
and that's just so you're all clear, and so the record is clear. That's why I dropped that little footnote comment. I'm here tonight because Alex wants to cooperate, wants to work with the town, and really wants to improve the property. I don't want him to compromise his property rights if this is a pre-existing legal non-conforming use, and the town's records don't properly reflect that, I'm not trading that away so quickly. The fact that John Landy has 5 brand-new electrical meters out there, to me, was reassuring. The little bit of records that I've looked at, it's clear that it was multifamily. I mean, even some old notes in the handwritten files that I saw quickly, there were at least acknowledgments by the building department / assessor's office that there were at least 2. So, 3? So,
What's the total bedroom count within the 4 structures? Or the 4?
So the single-family cottage is a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Upstairs is a 1-bedroom, 1 bathroom. Downstairs is a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and a 1-bedroom / den with 2 bathrooms.
So 6.
6 bedrooms. That's what I have.
2, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
So I think you're gonna have to work through the legal process first to figure out, when the code came into place, when
understood.
the structures were built. But on our end, for what we've been given, you could do your legal stuff, but I think from what we're concerned about, one is the site, the parking, site distance.
Yep.
And obviously health department.
Got it.
Because whatever you do, you want to make sure you're clean when you're
course.
done with this.
So there are 2 septic tanks.
You tell me.
Yeah, so there are 2 septic tanks. I believe they're about 1,500 gallons, I want to say. I think those are the sizes of them. I was considering also tapping into the sewer line because we do pay sewer taxes.
Oh.
So that was a consideration.
That ends that.
2 tanks presumes 2 fields.
2 fields.
6 bedrooms is not, that should be sufficient.
It
but
should be, and it's not the property.
Assuming they're working properly, and if you have access to sewer, even better.
Where is the sewer? Just
It's right on the road. I actually had the town market.
All right, so you just got to do your homework, counsel.
got it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As quickly as I could. Hey,
So you're suggesting the issues that you enumerated and brought forth in a plan,
Yeah.
essentially?
and we can talk about this offline, but if he decides that he's got some civil engineering analysis that he needs to do, I don't want to run to the zoning board faster than we otherwise need to.
That's fine, yeah.
So, we're trying to clean it up.
Yep.
And when there's a cry out there for,
Yeah, sure.
moderate, affordable housing.
Yep.
Of course.
it's-
I'm sure everybody would be very happy to see that property.
Good,
cleaned up.
good to hear.
I would love to. I really would.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Hang on to those. I'll keep that. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
See ya. All right, next is another zoning board referral. This is for the Pied Viper. This is location 2090 Compound Road. This is for a request to allow an 18 square foot wall sign where the 4 square foot is permitted. I do have to recuse myself from this, as I stated in the letter to the.
Well, you used to go to school.
Hmm?
You used to go back to school.
No, my daughter works
You're a
there. so-
graduate?
Well, all my kids went there. I got to say that.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
John, any issues?
I will pass along that I did receive a call today from someone who is against the sign, lives in the neighborhood. Says it's too big, and that's all I have on that. So there is one person out there that for whatever reason could not attend tonight and is against it. Looking at it, does not face Route 202.
No.
It's going to be on the side that faces the internal parking lot. And when I look at the picture, I will say that my opinion is that it's not overwhelming this facade. And given that it is facing the interior, I find it somewhat benign, but
I would go underneath the window.
It just disappears.
that-
That's a great sign, too.
that's the actual sign, right there.
That's what they want to put in?
It's not illuminated, correct?
No. And that's its location.
Oh, I see.
That's its location. The vantage point is in front of the church from 202. And so it would be over there, really not facing, it's not
It's off the
here,
side.
facing the street, so.
Yeah, right.
In other words, it's not here.
It's the intention of a 2 square foot
Faces
sign.
202, which is here.
It's facing the
Here
church.
faces actually, probably when you get out of your car in the parking lot in the back, that's when you're gonna see it. So,
I think the size of the sign is a zoning board issue. It's not really a planning board issue that much.
Are they not, is that what they're asking for? Are they asking for our opinion on
Yes,
size of the sign?
correct.
Given where the sign is placed and the
Yeah.
visibility and the character of the building and everything else, I think it's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, it's acceptable.
I don't know what
Why
a
not?
2-foot square sign is intended to do for anyone necessarily, but,
Also, that sign is not with a background. You're measuring the extreme dimensions of it both
Yes,
ways.
that's
That's
correct.
what's creating the area.
right.
And that sign that's misleading because it's really, you're not taking a sign that's X by Y. It's a sign that the overall measurements are X by Y, but it's not.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
That's why it looks so
Yeah.
benign.
Yeah. So I think the impact of it is not as significant as if it had a black background or something, or if it was a sign that was defined in its dimensions.
Right.
Probably knock off 50% of the sign.
Because of that.
Yeah,
That's what, yeah, so that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
I really don't,
it's a valid.
I think it's more legal than it is designed from my standpoint, so.
I have to agree.
Can you go back to the rendering? Who's got the screen?
I
You?
do.
Can you go back to the rendering where it's sort of the,
This here?
I think, yeah, so it's, yeah. So it's intended to kind of fit nicely with the window above it
Yeah.
and the doors below. And it's a side entrance.
And it doesn't have a background that would bring forth, that sense of a larger sign.
Right.
So I understand.
Do you
that.
know, is there any intention of lighting it? Putting a spotlight on it or anything like that? Or
Not to my knowledge, I don't have full information on that
nobody,
question.
they don't have night school there, I don't
They
think.
do not have night school there.
Okay.
No. Those kids are in bed by dark.
So I think a memo back to zoning
And a
board saying
memo.
we have
Yeah.
We have no objection.
no
I have
issue.
I
and-
have no issues with it.
No issues.
Will do.
Bingo. Okay, thermodynamics.
Want to kick that off? I'll go get Rich. Jim, on your way out, can you bring Rich back in? Thank you. Thermodynamics.
Yeah, all right. Next is Thermodynamics Corp. This is a discussion on a lighting plan. Locations 2989 Navajo Street.
Good evening,
How
Chairman.
are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good, been a while.
It certainly has, and members of the board and town consultants. With me tonight is Ryan McCormick,
Hi,
and
gentlemen.
How are
Ryan and his brother John recently purchased this property, and they're looking forward to occupying the building for their HVAC contracting and service business. And I understand, maybe you want to say a little bit, you do a lot in Yorktown,
Yeah,
Ryan?
we actually have done some work even in this building. We service the Jefferson Valley Mall. We take care of Yorktown schools, HVAC boiler and air conditioning, so pretty well affiliated with the area.
Was this the old Fire Glow building?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And Fire Glow is out, they're not there now?
Fireglow, I don't know where they moved. We used to go there all the time because we, as architects, specified their products and they helped us out with fireplaces and things. But I'm pretty certain they relocated someplace, right?
I believe he was kind of like, he intimated to me he was kind of getting smaller. and
Okay.
Kind of seeing where he was going and, sold the building. We actually didn't buy it from him. He sold it to someone else, and that's who we purchased it from.
So in any event, they're currently renting in Peekskill. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. And they need to be out in October. And we know we have to go through the proper channels to try to get the approvals to get them in. We appeared before the ABACA board last week, and I'm not sure if they were able to send a memo to the planning board or not yet, but they, I believe, were very favorable with what was proposed and thought it would be a nice improvement. So what we are proposing, John, you have control of that. I don't know if you want to go, but basically the building in a nutshell, the elevation drawings, I think the existing elevation, well, you can go there. That's the site plan. And I'm wondering if this works on this screen. I don't know that lasers, no, they don't, do they? They disappear, okay.
We did get a letter from Abaca.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and basically it's in reference to the architecture, which you would not find surprising with your history. The board was pleased with the architectural design proposed for the building. It feels the design enhancements, specifically the removal of the mansard roofs and the integration of the quality materials, will result in a major improvement to the building and site in the area.
Yeah, we feel it's due for an upgrade, and they'd like to clean it up, make it more of a contemporary structure to square off, get rid of the gambrel roof, and make it almost appear like a pre-engineered metal building. But they've got two large floodlights at the rear corner of the building that are up on big masts, and we're proposing to remove those, and we had a site lighting plan prepared, and the foot candles are indicated on the plan that's been submitted to both Abaca and the planning board. And they are all night sky compliant. You can see the little black, exactly, thank you, John. Items there are LED, they're black LED wall-mounted lights, and they're night sky compliant, so it also screens the light source. So right now, when you drive by, you see the two huge floodlights staring you in the face. You won't see that with these new light fixtures. So we're proposing to have the light fixtures on a timer whereby they would go from dusk to 10 o'clock, and we're flexible if the board has any other requirements that need them turned off later. But they'd like to keep them for a little bit of security, but 10 o'clock at night they'd go off, and then they would be controlled by motion. So if they had an emergency call some night, or if somebody
if
just...
someone came in, or even just, I mean, kids or whatever you want to kind of be...
So if they came in, they would come on for a 15-minute interval, and again, a security item if kids want to go in the parking lot. So, and we're open to, if that doesn't comply with the planning board's requirements, we're open to make any adjustments. What's that?
It gets real dark back there at night.
Yeah. And it is an industrial kind of park area, and we just want to keep it safe. But in addition to the lighting, the site landscaping right now is in a little bit of disrepair. It's been unkempt, and what we're proposing, and the Abaca asked us to go to a landscape professional. That plan right there is not the final plan. I don't know, John, I emailed them last week after the Abaca meeting with the revised landscape plan. I have them on a disc right here if you want to put it on. I'm not sure.
I can try.
When I was a building inspector, when they would come in, I'd be so happy. You knew it was going to be right.
Don't forget to take this back from me, okay?
Oh, no problem.
You got a collection?
I do. I have one right here.
The architects used to come and
So we did consult with actually Bedford Hills Nursery, Joe Rotola, who's been in business for many, many years, and he does landscape planting plans for a lot of residential jobs and commercial jobs. He's helped us in the past, and he changed some of the sizes we proposed. He changed some of the groupings, recommended that we group the plantings. They'd be some Green Mountain boxwoods that would be interspersed between groupings of 3. Grasses would be one of the plants, and then the other would be hydrangeas. So
does it look correct?
That is it. Yes, that's it. Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah. So the landscaping, this is the revised plan that we sent to Abaca, and I did send it, John, to your office, and I'm not sure if Nancy was able to send it out to the others, but that was the basic change there. The other thing we added was drawing C4, if you want to go on to that, and the question came up at the Abaca meeting was, do they have gutters and leaders on this building right now? And they do, but only on the front of the building. The back of the building does not. So what we're proposing on the back of the building, rather than just dripping into the dirt like it's been for years, is to put a filter fabric and a 2-foot or 18-inch wide bed of washed gravel just as along the drip edge to dissipate the water and have it not splash dirt up onto anything. So we're proposing simply just to add 5 leaders along the front. Those are the little dark spots you can see with the arrows pointing to them, and connect to the existing underground storm drainage system. They have a 20-inch underground. I think it's a 20-inch. Can't see it from this distance, but it's all spelled out on there. So really not looking to change much of anything other than enhance the landscaping, enhance the lighting, and greatly enhance the design of the building. So it's something they're going to be proud of for years to come. And there is an elevation of the building. If you want to go to keep going down, John, I think you'll see this is the inside existing. There's the existing building, and you can see the picture on the bottom right. Probably shows it best on it. Really, I don't know if you can zoom in on that bottom right picture. Excellent. So right now they have a whole bunch of stacks coming through the roof and the exterior wall because that was their business. And those are all going to be removed. The chimney's going to be removed on the front entrance. And you can see there's very little landscape along that entrance when you drive and turn into the property. So all those old plexiglass panels are brittle and dried out and leak. And
there's no energy. It's all like thin fiberglass.
So that's going to come. That's going to go. And then if you can go to the next drawing, would show the proposed elevations. You might want to zoom out again, and then the next drawing. That's the proposed floor plans, and that's the proposed elevation. So, if you want to zoom into the front, the existing elevations are down below, but basically this is the front. We're going to introduce a gable roof. We're going to have and then that's the side entrance. They're proposing their sign down low, the building number up high against the darker gray panels. All new energy efficient windows and exterior doors and overhead doors. All new lighting, all new siding. The siding we had approved from Abaca, either the corrugated metal Galvalume siding or possibly Hardy Plank board and batten siding, which is they both have a similar look, and it's based on pricing. We think the metal is going to come in more economical, and they're putting a lot of money into the building.
The panels in between the windows will be that cement.
Correct. And then the only color, they're going to add a freestanding awning. That their company logo is red and blue, so we're trying to pick that up. And then if you zoom out, John, to the front elevation, right there you go. We're just adding the gutter because it's part of the metal roofing. The roof's going to be like the New England roof. It's going to be all new black architectural shingles, and then the bottom section that we're building out will be a metal standing seam roof. And we've got the gutter, which is the red, bright red color gutter that is just going to be a little splash of color to give break up the grays and give it a little contemporary flair. And that's basically it. And
great improvement.
Well, thank you. I think so. I mean, I think it's a win-win for the town, and they're happy to be in the town because they do a lot of work in the town. And I don't know the process from here, but I want to throw it out there.
Right?
This is just really lighting.
Yep.
There's nothing else there that's
Oh, it's still
rising
okay.
to any amendments or anything.
And it
so.
looks like it complies.
And the lighting plan complies with the code. The fixtures that you've selected are fully shielded, which complies with the code. So I think you're in good shape. So,
Okay. So we just do a memo.
well, I can do a resolution for
All right.
September or whatever
Okay.
it's called.
And then the only other question I'd ask is if there's any possibility, I know we need to get a building permit. We've got the drawings pretty much done, the working drawings and specifications. Would there be any chance that they could apply for a building permit to start the work before, as soon as possible, so they could get in by their October date? It's
To start the work in the building?
in the building, yeah.
I think so. In the building is, in other words, if there wasn't a lighting
Right.
plan issue,
We would have nothing to do with it.
you wouldn't be seeing this. So
Right.
yeah, I think the answer to that is yes, and I can, if the board would like, I
Yeah,
can do a memo
absolutely.
to the building department to that effect.
Would there be any thing preventing them from doing the exterior at the same time?
No, as long as it's the building only, you're not changing anything
Exactly,
to the site.
absolutely. That would be terrific. I mean, that would give them a head start so they could
Right.
make their deadline.
And so you understand where the board is with the lighting, but it will be formalized by resolution in September, I think, 12th.
Great. That'd be great.
Okay, so you got it.
Terrific.
Good luck.
Okay. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
All right, have a
All
good
the
rest of the
best.
night.
Good seeing you.
I'm sure you haven't been busy the last few weeks, have you?
Yeah.
All right, don't
Yeah, I
go,
can
don't
only
go away.
imagine.
That's right. That's how you get those free flash drives, right?
Just gotta take this out.
Is it a good one? Is it like, you know, 256 or just?
Very nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you too.
Take care.
I need one. I'm gonna call John.
How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, town staff. I apologize for my hoarseness in my throat, too. My name is Matthew Dudley. I'm with Harris Beach PLC, attorneys for the applicant, HESP Solar. I'm here with Chris Reddy tonight of Bergman PC to discuss some changes made to the proposed site plan since the applicant was last before your board. And I'm simply just going to turn over to Eric Redding to explain the changes.
All right, and just for the public, this is the Granite Knolls Solar Project. This is a discussion of site plan and a special use permit. Location, 2975 Stony Street.
All right, good evening. Eric Redding with Bergman. We're the engineers on the project. And John, do you have the site plan that we submitted? There we go. Yep, perfect. Thank you. Yep. So when we were here last time for the public hearing, we heard a number of comments from the board as well as residents from the town, and we took those into consideration. So what we've done to reduce environmental impacts on the project, the aesthetic quality of the park, is we did eliminate the ground-mounted array from the project, as well as the battery storage component as well. So as you can see from the updated plan, we're left with the solar carport system over the existing gravel parking lot. And then we will have the interconnection poles and the driveway off of Stony Street to tie into the grid as well. So that was the major change from the project. The other additions that we will be making to the carports is we're adding a gutter system on the drip edge of the canopies. They'll be collected by the gutters to a downspout and discharge on splash blocks on top of the existing gravel. And then the stormwater would flow to the existing catch basins and into the system as it does today. And then the second thing is we will be proposing lighting under the canopy for the parking lot, and it will be fully shielded, so anyone playing on the athletic fields won't have any lights in their eyes. So in our next submission, we'll have a fully shielded photometric plan for the board to review. So we're here tonight. It's a more concept in nature, but just wanted to hear if the board had any questions or comments or anything before we proceed forward.
Have you met with town staff yet?
Yes.
So you met with the planning board or the planning department?
Yep. So we proposed it. We sent it to John and Robin, talked about the plan. So we're here to see if there's any comments.
And last time, I know it's very different than the last plan, but we talked about screening.
Yep.
All right, so where are you with that?
Yep, so for screening, we're going to keep the screening on top of the hill. So if you're looking up the main driveway, we were proposing the screening in front of the carport system. So that would remain. And then anything along Stony Street or to the north where we're screening the ground-mounted array, we'd take that away since we don't need it anymore. So it would just be at the top of the hill to screen the carports from Stony Street.
All right, so you're going to have to show us that.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that we're concerned about.
Yep, and it was in previous renderings. We did have it in there, that screening as well.
We just got to make sure it works now.
Okay, yep.
Right, it was very schematic back then, and I know we've been, every applicant that has come to us with solar, we've been very clear that it's got to be as invisible as it can.
Yep, absolutely.
Do we have to, because this is so different than the original, does this have to go back out?
Back out where?
Do we have to have another hearing on it?
You didn't have your, did you have your public
Yes.
informational and your public hearing?
Correct. I thought we had the public hearing as well.
No, just the public information.
Just the informational.
So I don't think you need to do the public informational hearing again, because
Okay.
that is designed to get the word out.
Yeah.
The word is out pursuant to comments and other issues, it's been modified, but that's part of the process. So if it comes forth in the public hearing, you don't need to redo anything at this juncture. We will be referring the documents to involved and interested agencies, but that's normal.
John, the record shows that on April 25th, there was a public hearing,
Okay.
but it shows it was adjourned.
That it was adjourned?
Yeah.
So if it's still adjourned, then you're still in the public hearing, and you can reopen that. Or you will reopen it, you will need to reopen it. When you do, you can explain those changes. You can explain it at any number of meetings before you get to that point.
All right, so I think it's very important now that you work to make sure that we have what we need on that landscaping and the details that you've spelled out here.
All right, sounds good. And does the board have any concerns or comments on anything at this time?
I think the ground mounted was the big issue.
Yeah, the ground mount, that was it.
That was the- that was-
Yeah.
Was not part of that.
It was an interesting meeting.
Yes. I did see it on tape.
Yeah, so that was the biggest issue.
Right.
Do you have any idea of the lighting design? You know, where they will be mounted, so on and so forth, how many?
Yeah, it'll be definitely under the canopy, right on the downside of it. Don't know the exact number, but it'll be LED lighting, fully shielded, downlit. It'll meet requirements for a safe parking lot and the standard
Right.
lighting under a canopy.
So the thing we'll scrutinize there is when you're coming up the hill or from Stony Street, you're looking right underneath, so we'll just take a look at that.
Yep. So
I'm sure you can solve it.
I'm
if it's
hoping
an
that,
issue.
yeah, the screening with the evergreens would solve it. So we'll take a close look at that and make sure that the board knows that that's going to be screened from the driveway as well. And, yeah.
All right, start working on the details.
All right, sounds
All
good.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next we are going to go into an advisement of council. So we're going to ask everybody to please leave the auditorium. We'll let you know when we're done. Thank you very much. Tom, can you shut everything down? Good evening. We're going to start back up. Next on the agenda is the Underhill Farm. Location is 370 Underhill Avenue. We've worked with town consulting staff, or with the town staff, and we have started a list of concerns that we would like the applicant to start looking at. Council, you have anything you want to start with?
Oh, just introducing Mark Blanchard, Blanchard and Wilson here on behalf of the applicant, Underhill Farm project. It's good to be back in front of the board again.
So as a result of the public informational hearing, which again is unique to the town of Yorktown, where it gives notice and it opens the door for anybody interested in the application to come in. I do want to note, just for the record, that there was no limit on anybody speaking at that meeting. We did not limit anybody. Anybody and everybody was here on both sides of the aisle, pro or against, had their time at the mic, and we did not restrict that at all. That being said, I'll start working through the list of things from that meeting that were generated that are of concerns to the town.
I'll do my best to take notes as we
We'll
go.
get you a copy
Okay.
at some point. Well, you're going to have to
Okay,
touch
perfect.
base with.
You want to take that?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to make this short and sweet. We'll go through the list. And again, this is the start of a very detailed process. So, A, land use, zoning, and public policy. 1, surrounding land uses and neighborhood character. 2, zoning and overlay zone. Part A of that are bulk regulations. Part B, proposed building heights. 3, under A, multimodal connections to the hamlet, pedestrian connection. 4, under that same bullet A, housing impacts and housing diversity. Then we'll move to B, view analysis, renderings of the site. Part 1, existing views from A, Glenrock Street, B, Rochambeau Drive, C, at the intersection from Town Hall, and D, from the Caremount site. Bullet 2, proposed views with and without proposed screening. A, from Glenrock Street, B, from Rochambeau Drive, C, at the intersection from Town Hall, and D, from the Caremount site. Part C, wetlands and surface water resources. Town environmental consultant to verify wetlands and review mitigation plan. I'm sorry, if you guys want to talk, if you could just...
No, I was just asking, sorry, if we could have a copy of what you read.
It's all going to become public information.
It's on the screen now, if you want to pull up.
But everything we talk about is public.
I just wanted to try to follow along. That's all.
All right. This is going to be going on for a bit. All right, so under the consultant, 1, history of the site and existing conditions. 2, proposed development. 3, the mitigation plan and functional quality. D, trees. Town environmental consultant to review the tree survey, tree function, tree removal, and tree mitigation plan. 1, history of site and existing conditions. 2, proposed development. 3, mitigation plan. Under bullet E, cultural resources. 1, board review of submitted reports. 2, eligibility for National Register. 3, proposed time period for restoration. 4, review of each existing building. 5, defined reuse of main structure and any other structures to remain on the site. We go on to F, fiscal and socioeconomic impacts. 1, estimated school children. 2, estimated taxes generated. 3, housing types and community growth. We'll move to G, traffic. Traffic study and proposed mitigation plans to be reviewed by the town's traffic consultant. The submitted traffic study includes 1, existing conditions. 2, proposed impacts of the project and other potential developments in the area. 3, proposed mitigation. H, parking for all uses explained. 1, for all proposed uses. 2, for the senior center. 3, for the visitors / the public. I, recreation. Bullet 1, R-3, recreation requirements. 2, proposed recreation improvements. J, stormwater. Stormwater pollution prevention plan to be reviewed by the town engineer. Stormwater pollution prevention permit to be obtained by the New York City DEP. We'll move on to K, utilities. Bullet 1, water. A, estimated usage. B, proposed connections. And then 2, sewer. Bullet A, estimated usage and impact on plant. B, proposed connections. And C, any conveyance of issues between the site and the plant. We'll go on to L, energy conservation and green technology. 1, potential impacts of the site development. 2, proposed energy conservation and green technology to be used by the project. We'll move on to M, alternative layouts. 1, relocation of multifamily buildings along Underhill Avenue into other proposed buildings to reduce the impact on the streetscape. And 2, proposed streetscape along Route 118. This is a start of a list that was generated from the first public information that we had. At this point, does the board have anything to add?
None.
Counselor?
The only thing I would add is to the fiscal impact, we should include an analysis of the municipal contribution toward the traffic improvements, since the town may choose to forego revenue for some period of time.
Okay, missing anything at this time?
No, not from my perspective.
All right. You got anything, Counselor?
Oh, no, I appreciate this list. It's pretty extensive. It seems seems basic. You know, we can track this with what we heard at the public hearing. I mean, this is certainly what we were expecting, a robust study to accompany what we're doing so far. So we're happy to get started on our homework assignment. You've given us our summer reading assignment.
Okay.
In August.
And I think we do also have to deal with the impact with the state and the letter that was out there about the town not receiving input from the public on the historic end of it.
That's in the package tonight?
Yeah.
The July 12th from the Heritage Commission?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you should respond to that. The board should respond to that in writing, because that made some implications that there was not discussion on the historic. And, you know, from my memory, I knew that there was discussion at the last meeting and the meeting before that, so I went to the tapes. For instance, the last meeting, the historic discussions came up 5 times for a couple of minutes. It's part of the rolling discussion of the EAF usage and so forth. The meeting before that, on July 11th, the total meeting was about 1 hour and 20 to 30 minutes. The discussion on Underhill Farms was an hour, and the discussion about all of the historic attributes was 1/3 of that in a full 20 minutes. So that implication is false, and I think it's important to correct that in writing in the record. I think it's important for a couple of perspectives, but the one that I want to point out is that, as you recall, the state has delayed their execution of the LOR so that there's public participation. And if that goes unanswered, that would leave out there a implication that you were not doing your due diligence or not discussing some of the commentary and some of the attributes of this project, which is false. I did not go back into earlier meetings. Of course, there was the PIH in which you received an entire presentation, PowerPoint presentation, that was accompanied by several reports from the applicant's consultant, of which was discussed. I also want to point out that in terms of participation, since the end of May, there has been 11 pieces of correspondence from the Heritage Commission. So there is full participation in the process, and I just think that it's important to get that into the record, exactly what has taken place since that implication has been made.
All right, so we could draft something up?
Yeah.
Give Aaron also a chance to take a look at it and review the list that we went over tonight. And just something I feel I have to say as a 17-year, I think, year volunteer for the town. I can assure you, and I think my members here, former, I saw John Flynn out here before and past, we do our homework. We do our best to support the town, and what we do up here, we take what we do seriously. We're your neighbors. Again, it's completely volunteer. So for, something to be said enough times where it becomes fact, I just want to set the record straight. We do a lot of work. Put a lot of time in. There's a lot of reviews on the weekend, there's site walks, and I thank the members that are up here, past and present. But I just want the general public to know that. If there's nothing else, I'll close the meeting.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
That's the end of it.